War Game Warriors.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our third episode of the War Game Warriors podcast. Today we have Jason and, of course, the wonderful, sassy Nick Redford, number
Hello.
one CSM player in Canada last year, I believe. Am I right?
Last year and the year before.
Last year
We're
and
going for three. We're going
humble
for
brag.
three.
Humble brag.
Well, you brought it up, man. I wasn't gonna say
Well,
anything.
Sorry.
definitely.
I'm
Sorry.
As
just a
we
guy
know,
you
yeah.
found on the street, so
Nick is
Warhammer?
definitely
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, what is that? Remove
Nick
model?
Nick yeah, definitely a decorated Warhammer player, lots of achievements in the Warhammer 40K scene in Canada. He's gonna help us tackle this big Munitorum field change because lots of changes right here in the Q1 of 2025. Lots of rule changes, lots of points changes, and we're definitely glad to have Nick on to get some of his insight on the armies he plays, what he plays against, because he goes to a lot of tournaments, so he'll definitely be able to give us a wider perspective on just what Anthony and I know, which is basically Custodian Sisters.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad to be here, guys. If you keep
Before
on
we
glazing me, I'll come back for sure.
Yeah.
Well, before we get started, first off, congrats to Nick. He got third place at Barry Bash.
That's right. Yeah.
I dodged Nick successfully at all weekend, and he dodged me, he says, but I don't know if that's a dodge as much as a one-sided experience for him.
No, I didn't want the four up and I win smoke. I didn't want that.
All right, let's get started. So the MFM dropped today as a data slate. So we'll get started first with Sisters.
Yeah,
Jason,
sure. We'll take it away here. So, well, I know for a fact that not only did we got some points changes and very welcome ones, because from the 2024 data slate for the Q4, Sisters were struggling. There was a lot of we got hit with the patented quadruple nerf from GW, where we had detachment nerfs, we got stratagem nerfs, points nerfs, and army rule nerfs. Like literally everything that could have gone south did go south. And then now in this change, the big one was that our miracle dice generation is basically back up to, I would say, maybe like 70-80% of what it used to be. The big change from the last slate to now is that we actually generate a miracle die upon a unit's death. So the big thing here is that it's basically back to its old army rule, whereas before it was you only get it to generate one per phase, and you don't even get it immediately. You got the die at the end of the phase, so you never even got to use it until if you died in the shooting phase, you don't get to use it until the charge phase, essentially. So it was a very, very like you're scraping basically just to get miracle dice. So yeah, definitely that change is very welcome, and I will be testing it again. Actually, I will be playing against Will Kwok, good Demons player. Yeah, we'll be playing on stream at X Planet on Friday, so make sure you check that out. Check Lionel's stream; does a really good coverage there. So we'll have a really nice game. We'll be playing Hallowed Martyrs on my end, and he'll be playing the Shadow Legion, which we will definitely get into later on in this podcast. But moving on to the points changes here, the big points changes were the Arcos. The 3-mans didn't get discounted, but the 10-mans did go down by 10. Yeah, I think 10. So it's pretty good. Like Arcos were already pretty well costed, I think. But now at 140, you basically want to take at least 20 of them, if not 30, just because they're good bodies, 2 wounds, 5 will feel no pain, just really annoying to chew through. And then the other stuff that went down was Sacrosands, as well as Repentia, Dominions. The Sacrosands going down by 20 does have me interested, but I think it's really geared towards the Champions of Faith, which was the Grommet attachment. And when I reviewed it initially, it was this attachment does nothing because there was no miracle dice. But now that there is, it might be worth considering. But really, it's some of the angels also went down a couple points, like Seraphim, Zephyrim squads. I don't think that in terms of points changes, it's actually going to be that relevant because all the good stuff that you want to take didn't go down. So Castigators didn't go down, Immolators, Valgons, like Morven Val, as well as Paragon suits. None of those went down. So your list basically just kind of got discounted by maybe 20 to 30 points. So it's not really going to make that big of a difference in terms of what you can actually field in an army. But for sure, the army change rule will definitely impact how we play in the next 3 months, for sure.
I'm just glad Acrocists are gone. I don't know about you, Nick, but like Acrocists were a pain in my ass. Oh my god.
I only played against them once. It was against Keith Davis, who famously has awful dice. So those X's basically did nothing the whole game. So it wasn't a problem for me. But I
Yeah,
didn't want to play against people running triple XO for sure.
and that's what I ran at BPO last year too, right? And my list name was literally just BPO War Crimes because having 3 Exorcists against anyone is just like a miserable experience. But it seems like GW wants to. They're on trend basically to make sure that indirect is not going to be overpowering in 10th edition, and we'll see that later on as we go to the other codexes and their changes. So for sure,
Unless it's combat indirect, which will
combat, yes.
Combat
Well, no, that
Warp
got nerfed too.
talents.
Green Knights got
Well,
nerfed too that way.
That's true. That is true.
All right, I'll cover Custodes. So Custodes got some changes. Overall, Blade Champs and Wardens went up 10. The Dreadnoughts from the Solar Spearhead Detachment also went up 10. But a lot of the other stuff did go down. Like I noticed the Knight Centaur went down 15 points. The Custodian guarded 10, as well as the Bite Captain. And it also came up with a new detachment. We'll go over it later on in the detachment side of this podcast, which does have some spice to it. I am looking into cooking something for that. The strats and everything do kind of, come together really well. But for those who do play with me or know me, I ran Folger's list for the better part of like, oh God, Jason, how long did I run that list for?
It's been like 7 months now. I think.
Like right
you
when
literally
it
have
came,
not played a different list.
I haven't played a different list. Like, I think since when it was like Worlds, I already was running it, and then it went up 90 points. So there is slight adjustments. I do find at 10 points, although it's a bit rough, you still bring Wardens. You need something that can hit back. I have ran Guard before, and Guard just don't trade very well. They kill and then they die. So
Yeah.
whenever you hit, it'll kill within a reasonable range, but then you lose that unit, or it's crippled to near inefficiency. But Wardens are able to do almost the same amount, but at least able to hold the line before a field pain, and you stat check it a bit better.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Yeah. The Dread's going down. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, this is our first hot take, and we're like, what, 8 minutes in? I never found the Dread detachment to be quite good.
Yeah.
Win rates say otherwise. I know some other local really good competitive players are like they love and die on that hill. I've played against that list multiple times. I played at LVO. The break points were low OC, low attacks. You just flood the board and you outscore them, and you just have to make sure that you're okay with the fact that you'll get tabled. And if you're okay with that and you play a mission, you'll be fine. But
Yeah.
that, again, hot take of I'm sure it's not going to be our only hot take with Redford here today. But overall, I think Ahsokas are in a really good spot. I think there's going to be some changes. I think Blade Champs going up was very worth it, because being able to spike up to like up to 18 dev wounds on 6 dice if you roll 6 sixes is something that you should, get a cost from. But
I definitely think the changes to Wardens and the Blade Champs were warranted. Like,
yes.
just being able to, even though like the Blade Champs having the once per game advance in charge, it doesn't really matter whether it's once per game or all the time. You do it on the turn that it's important, essentially. And like after that important turn, you don't need to, because you're going to stay there and protect that objective anyways, whatever you cleared out, right? So it's definitely warranted changes. And yeah, like you said about the Dreadnoughts too, right? Like Dreadnoughts going up. It's mostly due to probably just Folgers, because he was been playing it for so much, and he's kind of like in the hot seat. So whatever he's playing, like GW looks at it really closely. Very similar to like how they balance it, whether we like it or not. It's based off of like what the pros do, right? Yeah. So if the pros are doing well with a certain detachment, then they look at that a little bit more
For sure.
It's kind of like a Scary factor. You know what I mean? Like the detachment or the army is basically being balanced around him. So,
Nick, have you faced custodes since the change, before the change?
Um, I played them at BPO. Would that have been
Yeah, that's still relevant because they
still
just
relevant?
because the
yeah, I think because that was still the
there.
same slate.
No
Yeah.
Dreads, right? Because Dreads was before BPO.
Yeah, this wasn't with dreads. This was
Yeah.
yeah, Warden spam, Blade Champs. Like I think you those are just a staple in every list.
Yeah.
So it's good to see them go up a bit and maybe you do you think so the shield captain on bike went down and I thought his rule is really good, right? Doesn't he gets like an additional move or something after he
If he
kills
fights,
something if he
yeah.
fights?
So I was gonna wait until to get to the attachment side, but there is some spice you can do with this jet bike where you can basically make him, if he's solo, you give him a lone op enhancement, give him stealth, and he is the ideal skirmish unit because he will fly out there and he will take out whatever skirmish unit that your opponent has. And once he gets triggered in the fight phase, he can then move again. So he can move 24 inches, lone op, stealth, and for 1 CP or free because it's a captain, you can once per battle round make less 1 CP, use his once per battle move again another time. So there's a lot of spice. Nick Jagiello actually DM'd me about the custode spice, and he's telling me I should try bringing a sisters immolator with 3 jet bikes, one in the captain, because with the bolters, so that
Yeah, because they become AP1 ignore cover.
it's AP1 ignore cover 412, 6 shots, so 18 shots, right? It's twin linked.
Twin link, yeah.
Ignore cover and an attachment because you're so far up, you're not going to have another unit in 6 inches. So you're plus 1 a wound. So you're going to cleave quite a lot. I'm going to try it out because Jag's giving me it's gotten the Jag stamp of approval.
Yeah, so there's something there, right? Yeah.
There has to be something there. The man knows what he's talking about, okay? So I'm going to try it out. I'll get back to you. But yeah, there's some spice and the Terminator as well. Like splitting them up, lone op, just
Yeah. We can get more into the detachment afterwards once we get through all these points. So
exactly.
yeah. All right. Okay. Perfect. All right. Back to me here.
No one knows what this does, so we're
Okay.
all quiet.
AdMech. Literally, we've been begging for changes because the win rate on the army is like sub 40%, hovering around like mid 30s, and this is all GW gives us. We get 15 points on call, and we get 5 points on a Dominus. It's kind of like the army's fine, everything's fine. Let's just move on. Nothing happens. But like in all seriousness, I think the army is actually quite powerful. There are a lot of layers, and I think the reason why it's kind of like getting all these low win rates is because like people want to play with the things that they like, and AdMech as a codex is actually quite deep. There's quite a bit of rules and army and unit list choices there. So, but people kind of gravitate towards the incorrect things, so to speak, if you want to play a successful list, right? So a lot of people like to play like the Breachers, Destroyers, the Cataphrond, or Castellan robots, and those are all like really big, nasty, hard-hitting units, but at the same time they don't trade well. So it's like it's going to be like a 300-400 point unit that'll definitely kill a knight, and that might trade up, but then afterwards you're going to lose that, and then afterwards you like kind of lose all your killing power afterwards. So I really would have wished to see like those units kind of go back down a little bit more, and then maybe some of the more smaller chaff units go up. Like because there are some things that are like pretty aggressively costed. Like the Sky Stalkers at 75 are pretty cheap. I actually expected them to go up maybe 5 or 10 points because they're the ones that can move 12, potentially another D6 because you can assault them, and then afterwards they move additional 6, so they move shoot move. But if you can actually go wholly within 6 of a battle line, they move 12 inches, so they move 24 in the turn if you really wanted them to, which is like crazy board coverage, and you can take them in squads of 10, and you can give them a 5 of feel no pain with -1 to hit, so they're like super nasty to actually like get rid of. And because that didn't get touched, that'll probably just be the de facto way to play AdMech continuing forward. So
I don't.
again, like I know you guys don't have like much like input here,
No, I
but
only play you, and I'm just like, oh, this is like really like I can respect it because if it's in the hands of a really good pilot, like it's scary, and it also
yeah.
benefits from the fact that it's like the GSC energy where no one knows what the hell it does.
Hmm.
So I don't know,
Like
Red.
I definitely think that like it's kind of like a good and a bad because there weren't any negative changes, which is obviously good for a faction. But at the same time, a lot of the boogeymans of the format got nerfed, right? So, like, well, we saw that like Eldar got hit a little bit. Guard got like devastated and Bridgehead and stuff like that. Like,
Good.
yeah, all the good stuff basically went down, whereas or got hit, whereas like AdMax stayed the same. So I think they're pretty much in a good spot. Like, it would have been spicy to see changes, but at the same time, definitely not complaining that there weren't any upgrades.
Nick, have you done AdMech before? Have you touched that codex at all?
I've played against them a few times, but I'm still as clueless to what they do as I was before. I just know that if you think you have OC, you don't have OC, you know.
Yeah, it's
Um,
pretty accurate.
but I do know that the Skystalkers are they're the ones with flamers, yeah, the birds,
Still they're sterilizers, but Sky Stalkers are
sterilizers.
just like they shoot like 301 shots.
Got
Yeah.
it, got it. So they're gargoyles, but they're 2 wounds each, right? Like they're
Yep.
much
T4 two
tankier.
wounds, 5 up invuln. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, any army with that ability to like move block, it's definitely something that I didn't really experience before playing T-Suns. But the ability to just send a unit out super far for cheap is like you can really stall out a flank that you're weak on, or even just
Mhm.
cut an angle, but like not get shot too much in response before if you just move block them. It's a super powerful tool. So I'm not
Yeah.
surprised that AdMechers are in a pretty good position.
Hmm.
We're just
Uh,
I don't know
Titanicus, we can ignore that one.
that.
That
All
has
right,
nothing. Okay, Eldar. Um, who wants to tackle this
Redford, you know
besides
Eldar?
me?
Um, I know them a little bit. I looked up a lot of what they did because at the time I was running Bile in my CSM, and then they came out with all these three strength 10 AP2 damage 3 guns that like, get
That
back
just
into
shred you?
transport
Yeah.
that just shred me.
Yeah.
Anti-infantry 3 plus Acerman, not anymore.
Yeah.
Um, so I know yeah, they nerfed a lot of the regular culprits for the aspect host. So like
Mm.
the fire dragons, the wave serpents, because Eldari can like shoot and then get back into a transport
Oh, it's
with
so
I think
annoying.
2 or 3 units if you're playing the war host. So
Yeah. Which is very interesting.
these
Because they
points
actually own
increases.
they specifically nerfed aspect host, but they didn't nerf war host in that sense, which is a little odd. Besides points, obviously.
And the biggest thing they didn't really, from what I hear, I don't know too much about. Have you guys played against Yanari yet?
I have not.
No, but Eric on our team, he's had a couple of games with Yanari, and Yanari apparently copped like no nerfs besides points, obviously. Yeah. So I think that like before they were already sitting at like a 60% win rate, so that's kind of a problem already. But
Mm-hmm.
then it was aspect host that really kind of got hit with the rules with like Azerman and all that stuff, and then so it's kind of concerning how I have a feeling that Yanari is going to be like not really like a boogeyman coming into the new meta because they do have really weak matchups too, especially against fast melee. But if you're playing against like solely shooting, so let's say if you're playing like Tau, AdMech, that kind of stuff, like you will really struggle into Yanari because of their ability to move at the end of the shooting phase to like hold primary.
Yeah, Goodhammer has that too. Goodhammer's like Yanari returns her glory. So you hit it right in the ball there.
So I think
Yeah.
they were sitting at like a 62% win rate or something like that. So I do have some
Hmm.
inside tech though from Diogo, who shared to me if you want to beat Yanari, you just need to really focus on oftentimes if you're only like shooting 1 or even 2 like units that aren't even impactful units, like it's just better to ignore them, like throw some OC on the point. It's only when you can pick up a lot of their army that you then actually want to like have those shooting activations.
Mm,
Mm, it's good to know. Yeah.
that'll really test players to be patient. Like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times players would be like, I see his 5 guys in open.
Mm-hmm.
I can just shoot them, get something
Yeah,
done early.
because you want that efficiency, right? You want
Yeah.
to be able to like min max your activations and all that stuff. So it's definitely interesting here. But yeah, but we're glad to see fire dragons go up because everyone's been memeing about them being able to like kill like 4 war dogs in a turn because Fugan kills one, the whatever the XR kills another one, and then like 5 drag like not like whatever 9 dragons kill like, the other 2. It's like, but yeah, like it's good to see the nerfs like kind of like dial them back slightly, right? So
Guard. So guard, I believe, first off, let's start off. Bridgehead is dead. Thank God. I I got on the receiving end of it at Berry Bash, and it was just a brutal game of just, oh, you wanted to play Warhammer and sit on objectives. You now die. Because GW didn't realize that +1 to wound, re-rolling wounds would be a bit too strong. But
yeah,
I
so the
that's
change the change there was now instead of +1 to wound, it's just +1 to hit. So you're basically just getting a free order when you come down instead of actually getting a +1 to wound, which is like a million times better than having a +1 to hit. And I think one of their stratagems also went up by a CP. I think it's the one that they use all the time when they drop the scions down. I forgot what it's
the
called.
sustained one. Is it the one that gets sustained?
I think so. I think it's one of those. Yeah.
Well, I think it's a character unit that gives them sustained. Um,
It might be. We
I've
just know
only
it's
played
dead.
against it's dead, so we don't have to worry about
I
it
don't have to worry
anymore.
about it. It's
Yeah,
dead. I
it's
don't
all
care.
good.
It's the knowledge is now cut out from my brain. It is gone. But yeah, some light increases. The scions, the command squads, probably from Bridgehead. Heavy weapon squads went up, and the ordnance. Why did the ordnance batter go up? Is that the 712 indirect?
I
Um,
believe so. That's the really big one. I think it's the
Yeah,
one that's like on like the 100 mil base. Yeah,
yeah. I think that's why. Because I think, yeah, I think Jag had that. They're like
I
712.
think they're just nerfing all the like the heavy weapon stuff because like the heavy weapons usually just took mortars anyways, which is just indirect, and they
Yeah.
just don't want people to take indirect, right? So
Well, guard is definitely not out of the fight at all. Like they still have hammer at the Emperor.
yeah, hammer. They also still have the mechanized transport, although that one did get quite a bit weaker as well because engineers also got nerfed pretty hard. Not needing line of sight now to do the bomb things, hitting it on a 3 up and only doing I think D3 mortals instead of like D3 plus something. So it was a lot of like little things that
Yeah.
really hurt guard. I think it's gonna allow for a lot more skill expression to come through instead of just like I'm gonna drop down scions and I'm just gonna pick up your army.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Thank goodness.
but like again, like the guard codex is quite deep as well, right? Lots of different
So
unit
many
choices,
models.
so they'll be able to pivot to a lot of things. I still expect guard to be quite powerful.
Black Templars, no change. I think I get a 44% win rate.
Yeah, that's surprising for Black
Yeah.
Templars to not have any changes despite their low win rate and no help at all using the new oath. But it is what it is.
Blood Angels. Redford. Anyone in GT40K sad or happy about this?
let's see. Death Company's down 5. So I've actually played a few games with Blood Angels. Um, the Fight First, I think, is the Rage Field Warrior that went up +10. This is my first
35
time looking
points
at them.
now. Holy.
Death Company. I mean, the changes seem pretty minor. Um, the Death Company captain with jump pack, I don't think people were running too much. You just see mostly the standard captains. But
Mhm.
Death Company Marines are actually they're pretty solid. They still get eviscerators and a power fist, and you send them with Lamarties. It's still a pretty good hammer unit. So your list goes down, 10 or 20 points. It's not too bad.
No problem.
Can he even join these? Because these are the ones that are on foot, so not the jump.
Oh, oh,
Yeah, no, these
never
are
Oh
mind.
yeah,
You
they're not.
these are foot
sorry, I
ones.
completely missed that. Yeah, no, you never saw none of those units then.
Yeah,
So
this is
never
probably why they
mind.
went down in points.
Yeah. You probably still won't see them. You're a
No, I
fast
don't think
melee
so.
army that wants to, get in and hit stuff, The
Yeah,
Death Company Marines don't really don't
No.
don't do that.
no,
Blood
they don't do it nearly
Angels.
as much.
Blood Angels, well, as a Custodes main, Blood Angels have always been a crutch for me. contrary to Adel's belief. Um, Blood Angels are pretty like I don't like seeing Blood Angels on the other side of the table.
Yeah, they're
Faster,
fast melee that can jump over your screens, right? So
they hit
it's
harder,
very
they jump
nasty.
over my screens,
Mhm.
they do everything that I do better. Just
Yep.
I'm Corbin Vaughn, but they have AOC and they have two and a lot more activations, right? So
Yep.
demons, a lot changed.
Oof. Demons is it's a spicy one, I think. They're definitely one of the big winners of this data slate. Nick?
So we're gonna go over the detachments later. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So because that'll warrant a lot of these point increases.
Okay.
so
Okay, so let's get back to this
so
later.
we'll get back to
Demons,
the
we'll go back
Codex
to the
Demon stuff
yeah,
afterwards.
Nick. I
Yeah.
know you have a lot of opinions on this stuff, so I know.
Uh, I actually so I only own 2,000 points of corn demons, so I actually haven't brought my demons out in a while. And now that you can take them with CSM, spoiler alert, now I'm starting to look at more of the data sheets. But
Oh
no,
yeah.
so Be'lakor went up 50 points. He got +1 toughness, 2 extra wounds. I think he got an extra attack on his strike, an extra couple attacks on his sweep, and then his
Mhm.
rules. Now instead, before you were always taking the lone op 18. Um, I think the other one was like a leadership. I'm not even sure what the third ability was before, but now it got replaced with reroll hit roll of 1 aura, which is pretty good. So I think he's pretty, the 50 points is a lot to go up, but he gets a lot for it.
Yeah.
Um,
I think having that force multiplier now definitely helps the Shadow Legion like with their damage output, right? So
yeah, and it should be noted that all Slaanesh data sheets are dead to me. I started converting 18 fiends and now they're just nerfed. What the hell, GW? Um,
Deserved, deserved.
deserved, deserved. Um,
they can turn into
yes.
flesh hounds now. What are you talking about? Flesh hounds are
Yes.
So
so good.
I do want to. Everyone's been saying that splash hounds are amazing because they're uppy downy. So they have a new rule that end of opponent's fight phase you can go back into reserve. Sorry, end of their turn if they're not in
Yeah, if you're
engagement
not in
range.
engagement range, yeah.
I've never had an uppy downy unit in any of my main armies before. Could one of you guys speak to how powerful that is? Because I'm not getting it at first glance.
So Uppy Down is for me. I love it because I had a Callous Assassin for a bigger part of my list earlier, and it's really good for point scoring at the very least. I don't know. Can Flesh Hounds? I think it's Scout 6, right? Can they? Or is it
No,
infantry? Not a
no,
thing.
neither,
Okay.
neither.
They can move up. They do the action turn one, and they can pull them up and then put them back down for a screen further up, right? Like there's a lot of things you can do with it. A lot of
Mhm.
utility. It's like pseudo movement that is 9 inches away from your opponent. That's how I see it, and they're very cheap for 5, so it's a lot of board control that you can take up on as well.
Now I do. So in my head, I'm like, okay, if you just go out and you do a cleanse, you do a secure no man's land with them, like they're if they're on the objective, they're probably gonna die.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But what I do see utility in is they're very, very good in the index detachment specifically, where you're allowed to
Yes.
6-inch deep strike. Because before a big challenge with the army was you could only uppy downy 2 units for the 1 CP at the end of the opponent's turn. So you had to start your army, you had to start stuff in reserve, so that you could have more than 2 units sort of deep strike down the next turn. Um, but now that you have your flesh hounds always up being downying, you can use that to do your scoring, to do your like killing chaff, and you also get 2 hammer units now that you can uppy downy every turn. So I think in that detachment specifically,
That's
is where
spicy.
they're gonna really shine.
Yeah, I think both of you guys just kind of hit it right in the head there with the flesh hounds, like being able to up down, do mission play. And Nick said, like, yeah, even with the index attachment, being able to charge out from a 6 inch is quite powerful. And it's just having the option to be able to do that. Like if you're like late game and you still have a group of flesh hounds out, and you drop behind enemy lines, people aren't screening turn 5, right? That's gonna be free 3 points or 3-4 points for locusts and all that stuff, right? So and like I think even in the other detachment, I think you get to also up down certain units, so or deep strike certain units like havocs, saucy. So we'll definitely get into there more. Yeah, but I guess we'll touch on the rest of the demons later on. But like Nurgling's going down is pretty nice too.
Chaos Knight.
Okay, moving on to Chaos Knights.
The big guys
So
went down. Were they
well,
viable? Were they ever viable?
you're our resident Chaos Knights expert here, right? Because you
I
had the
played
most
two
games.
games.
I've
I
also
played
played 2 games.
I played two games and I forgot all the rules.
I think in terms of viability, the best detachment is still just going to be running 13 dogs, like war dogs. The big knights going down X amount of points doesn't really make a difference. Maybe if you're playing the Grommet detachment, if you took all three of these big knights, you can now take an additional squad of cultists. Congratulations. I think besides that, there's not much to do here, unfortunately, especially now with demons being so nice and powerful. In a team setting, you're going to be pretty hard pressed to allow your Chaos Knights to take demons as an ally. You're going to want basically demons in your group of 8 or 5 for sure.
Nick, have you ever dabbled, considered putting knights in your CSM list?
I used to not take them at all, and then bile was the thing, and I was like, wait a second, I don't have any
Yeah.
anti-vehicle, anti-monster in this list. So I included 2 stalkers, and ever since, even when playing Renegade Raiders, Packbound Zealots, doesn't matter. I don't leave home without at least 1 stalker. Those stalkers follow me everywhere, I swear.
You got
Vanilla has shown you the
your
light.
wallet, your phone, your keys, your stalkers.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I love it. All right. All
Oh,
right,
here we go.
Redford.
Oh, the
The
Chaos
reason
Space
why
Marine
you're here.
changes. So much to talk about. I think Crothers messaged me last night, Brian Crothers, what Chaos Space Marine changes I'd like to see in the new data slate. And I told him I was like, I'm fine with no changes. Not because I think like they're broken or anything. Like I think they are powerful, but I think they've been changed so pretty much every I feel like they've been changed so much being one of the first codexes that I think their balance is pretty good right now. The Forge Fiend went down 10. I think, he's still expensive enough that you're probably not going to take more than one. That's a nice change. The Annihilator. I don't know why it went up 5. At 130, when I didn't have the extra 10 points to spend on a Predator, it actually was like, oh, I could fit an Annihilator in this list. But now it's a 5 point difference, and that's gonna come up half as often as before.
Right.
And the Lord Discordant, although I own 3 of them, I think they are worse than a Mauler Fiend. So until they're, what's the Mauler Fiend? 140? 130. So
They're
until
130. Yeah.
they're 130, I am not looking at that data sheet ever again. Or until they get the Demon Engine keyword.
They've definitely had their time in the sun back in previous editions,
That's true.
but they are a shadow of their former glory for
I love
sure.
them all.
I own 3 as well. Speaking from someone that also owns 3 Hell Discordants, so
Really, the thing I'm most interested in seeing is whether or not we're gonna get the Noise Marines and the Emperor's Children codex, that data sheet, because it implies with the ally sort of that section of CSM that says you can take berserkers and stuff like that, that you can take the Noise Marines from EC, but I think we're gonna have to wait until there's like a EC codex, errata, or FAQ to find out if we can or not.
yeah. Because I think right now they actually have their own data sheets, right, in the CSM book.
With the EC index, yes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which they say if you we'll get over that when we get to over that. Yeah, when we scroll
Yeah,
down.
we'll get to EC when we get to
Yeah.
EC.
All right, Dark
Okay.
Angels. No changes.
No changes.
The 10 DWKs are definitely nice.
Yeah, they're probably in a good spot. Like Gladius is still good. Deathwing Knights probably shouldn't be moving that fast, but they do. So that's just the world we live in. So,
Death
Death
Guard.
Guard.
Wait, the points reflected what was in CSM, I guess. I'm assuming.
They're. I think the Annihilators are actually better in Death Guard than in CSM.
I think the Destructors are arguably better in Death Guard, so
Yeah, both
they
of them are.
deserve to go up 10 points there, I
Why did the
think.
haulers go down?
Because no one takes them.
Okay, fair enough.
They're
I
like
love. I
they're the
have Death
dudes that are on. They're on like the 80 mil bases. They're like the
Yeah,
little
little
buggy
claw
thingies.
guys, little mouths, the eyes.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
like they have a multi melta. They have like a crack or frag missile launcher. They move like some number, probably eight
Eight
or
or
seven
ten.
because it's Nurgle. And then they like, and then they I think they give cover all the time, or maybe that's a previous edition rule. But I don't know. There could be a list with like mechanized Death Guard just running like nine of these bad boys. Nine of them now are 255 times three, so that's like almost it's like 800 points ish, maybe or 700 and change. I don't know. They're 10 wounds apiece, so like that's a lot of wounds to chew through.
I
Like
think those are the guys you see in the Grotmist detachment, right?
Yeah.
Because they can give infantry -1 to wound or -1 to hit stratagem or something
The
like that
Cloud of
nearby.
Flies thing, right?
yeah, I think
I
so.
think
If
it's
you're like,
-1 to wound. Yeah.
which is
So
pretty good
which is
actually.
pretty
Yeah,
good. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I have always been tempted to play Death Guard. I have like 3K of Death Guard, and they like my COVID army. And seeing Chase play them every time, it's like, oh, it's calling to me. The voices in my head is getting louder.
They're good, man. They caught me off guard at Berry Bash for sure.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
wait. Your autocannon for your Predator is actually like essentially AP2 strength 10 against vehicles because
yeah.
of contagions. Like that's actually really spicy.
It's pretty
Ignoring
nasty.
mods, it's pretty
Yes.
good.
yeah. The -1 toughness contagion, and I remembered when I was playing Chase, and it was, my heavy bolters are all AP3, and I'm like, oh, okay, well let's roll some fours,
Yeah.
right, rather than twos.
Straight to invuln.
Straight
Yep.
in.
hmm
Death Watch. Terminators went up, what, up and down?
Yeah. So like if you're taking them in MSU, they went up. If you're taking them in the full 10 man, which no one did, they went down.
Oh, so
Although
never
Word on Street is the rules wise, Death Watch got pretty neutered. So I mean, I guess I don't know. I don't play Death Watch. None of us do. Probably deserved. They won LVO, right? So
deserved.
sure.
Drukari. Scar is happy. Minimal
Yep.
Yeah,
changes.
the bomber didn't go up again. That's crazy.
Yeah.
He
That's
was
like the
so happy
patented
when it did.
status. Yeah. Like Witch
Oh,
is going down and Cabalite Warrior is going down is actually not bad because you can take them in Yanari as well. Um, but I think like having these points differences, it probably just means like if you're playing just pure Drukari, it just probably means you get an extra enhancement now, which is nice. Like it's not going to be game changing or anything, but like you'll get an additional something, right? Another rule for you to remember and potentially forget when you're playing. So yeah,
all right, the juicy one. Emperor's Children. This is all you guys. I got nothing.
you
They're
got
pink.
nothing.
They're pink and they make noise. That's all I know.
All I'm seeing is this big text that says I can't play my EC children or my Emperor's children until some point in the future. What is this about, GW? I want to play them now. Give it to
Yeah.
me now. Do we think that we're gonna be able to so it's when does the codex officially drop? Is it this weekend?
I think so.
The FOMO box drops this weekend. So
Containing the
technically, no,
codex. No?
no, like because the official release is when the rest of the stuff comes out, like the Combat Patrol and Fulgrim and Lucius, all that stuff.
Oh.
It's very similar to when Blood Angels dropped and they had that FOMO box, but then like the rest of the release didn't come until I think like a week or two later. So I don't know. It's all up in the air. It really depends on your TO. Hopefully, if they're cool with it, they allow you to play EC. Just because like we do have the rules now, right? We have all the rules. We have all the points. They're updated. But yeah, let's
Yeah,
get into the nitty gritty of what actually changed here. Even though it's a day zero change essentially.
yeah, I can speak about some of the units. I've played 3 games of EC so far, all with the same detachment, the Coterie detachment. That one was as soon as I saw that my army could get lethal sustained fives re-rolling hits and wounds of one. The
You're like, that's
dream,
it.
it's only
That's the
happened
one.
once, but when the dream happens, it is very strong. That is the one I wanted to play. Um, so a lot of these points are, I have those goggles on and looking in, you know,
Mhm.
specifically with that detachment in mind. Um, but I would say the standout units of the Codex are the Noise Marines I've really, really liked. It is really your only shooting option. The Land Raider's not a real thing. So that probably skews my opinion a little bit, but their profile on their guns is very strong, and you can't really escape them because the Rhino can move 12, advance, and then you can disembark. Um, I really like them. The Lord at 80 points is he makes your troops go from like pillow fisted to actually doing damage, giving them lethal. And he himself gets 12 attacks on his go turn, which is
Holy
nuts.
Oh,
So eight
crap.
attacks at damage two and four attacks at damage one.
ooh,
Um, and there's an enhancement to buff that to damage three and damage two,
God.
which is kind of nuts. I really like him. And then the third one it would be the Demon Prince with wings.
Yeah.
Giving that like comparing that to the CSM Demon Prince with wings, you replace like a nonsense battle shock rule with -1 damage, and you're always like advancing and charging pretty much. That that unit he's really spicy.
And he's cheaper, isn't he? He's cheaper than the CSM one right now.
I think they're both 180.
Oh,
They're
okay.
both. I think the CSM one did go down in the last or second last data slate.
I see.
Um, yeah, points decreases is what, this needed uh from the book point or the book prices. So I'm glad to see,
Yeah.
they're going down. And the Mauler Fiend, shout out to the Mauler Fiend at 130. Actually, advance and charge is what, and shoot and charge with four melta guns attached is actually what that data sheet needed to actually see some play. I think
Potential play. Yeah.
he's pretty good.
Mhm. Yeah, I think like for EC, like having from what I hear is like Mercurial Hosts is the one that can lets you reroll your advances, and
Mhm.
it has like the auto flat six advance, as well as a lot of other movement shenanigans like reactive move up down, and like yeah, like being able to up down Fulgrim for whatever reason is like pretty saucy. But like you said, like Noise Marines are like definitely a profile that initially when I looked at it, I was pretty whelmed. But then as I hear more about people playing them and just seeing like what they can actually do, like the threat range on them in a Rhino is actually pretty gross. Like being
Mhm.
able to just pick up like so many things because they have like the AP one ignore cover, 2 damage, 3 damage stuff. It's pretty gnarly. And then like I also really like the Lord Coffinist at 60 points. Even if he did literally nothing, he's just 6 wounds at 2 up, 4 up, T5,
Mhm.
and it's just like super powerful. Like just to have like that kind of an action monkey that's actually durable. And plus he gives a battle shock test and then you roll 3 4 ups, I think, and then on any 4 up you take a mortal wound, right? So it's basically ninth edition Infernal Gaze, which is
Mhm.
pretty good. You took that power anyways when you were playing it in like the old psychic, like when psychic was still a thing, right? So very strong model. I like that one a lot.
Oh, and I'll also shout out Lucius.
Yes, well,
Because
yes.
yeah, Lucius, although he might be, I mean, there's only two named characters in this codex, and it's not even close to which one you'd rather take in your army, which is a damn shame.
Yeah,
But Lucius is he's a homie. Full rerolls to hit and wound against character, walker, monster units. Not vehicles, unfortunately, but and fight first, lone op. He's got all the good rules. He's kind of just like a better Mephiston. He one shot a war dog in my last game,
Oh,
which was really,
oh
really sick. Who charged him, which was awesome.
yeah.
that's a point.
That's pretty crazy.
Gene Stealer. I don't know.
No
I
rules
think
changes,
no
no
rules
points changes
changes.
effectively. You
I
don't
think
take the
Brad
20
was
man,
saying that
so
was fine, that the boss tank's still good. Neophyte's going up 15 points.
I think the 20 mans were when you're playing in, I believe it's Host of Ascension, or
Yeah,
is
that's
this
the index
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
attachment.
the
up and
index
down
attachment.
district
Yeah,
one, yeah.
I think not
That's a
much to say.
lot more points for double the models though. Because you don't get anything like you just get double that special and heavy weapons, right? You don't get
Yeah,
no,
you double up on like
let's
all
see.
the like the laser mining lasers and the sonic whatever things and whatnot. Yeah,
But I guess when you add like a Primus to it to give it reroll all hits, you want to be taking those 20s. So I guess
Yeah.
that makes
yeah,
sense.
because it becomes like a bunch of shots that are like ignoring cover. I think so. It ends up being going from like doing zero, like a 10 man is really just for screening. A 20
Mhm.
man is really when you're gonna actually oomph and like push something.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Grey Knights, some slight changes, I believe, to them. Warpbane, they lost their indirect rerolls, I believe.
Mhm.
Yeah, in the index or in the Grobus attachment, purgations can no longer reroll when they are not shooting in without line of sight. And as Ryan, a member on our team, pointed out, because if you fight Grey Knights through a wall now, you don't have line of sight of the enemy, so you're also gonna get the reroll hits, which is really dumb. So they
Yeah.
didn't think that one through, but yeah. So I guess like you said, it just kind of echoes back to when we're talking about AM, when how like GW really doesn't like the fact that indirect can potentially kind of like ruin a game, like the experience of a game. So they really want to just hammer that down, say like you got to get your angles, you can't just sit back, be non-interactive, and not play a game of Warhammer. You got to interact.
I'm
So
really happy about that. I remember back in the heyday when indirect was so good, and it was such a feels bad game when you're like, oh, I didn't go first. Hope you roll bad,
yeah,
right? So this now is actually the
yeah,
interaction.
Although
exactly.
although I will say how long have they been nerfing? They've been nerfing, oh sorry, indirect for the whatever since the edition came out.
Yes.
And after every data slate, we're like, okay, now GW knows that indirect's a problem and they're not going to make it too good again. And then somehow they always find a way and have to nerf it again later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
Could this not just be at the start, in the detachment, you can't reroll in indirect? I thought they learned their lesson,
But they didn't.
but they did.
Imperial agents. The assassin went down, collects his assassin. No other changes.
yeah. So the Calexis Assassin going down 15 is actually pretty interesting because he's the dude that can like come in within 3 and basically
Uh,
do mini Shadows of the Warp.
is it 3 still though? Because
No,
all 3
6.
and it
Sorry.
would
Yeah,
be 6
after
now, right?
yeah, it's 6 now. So he does like the mini Shadows within 6 or like with a 6-inch deep strike. So like it's pretty interesting even if he's just like an 85 point like action monkey. But again, like you're hard pressed to play that over like the Calidus, right? Just for 15 points more, being able to have Vect, being able to up down, all that stuff is like it's pretty much a non-factor still. If you're going to play an assassin, you play the Calidus.
I'm currently trying to cook to add, like, I'm looking at this codex really in depth to see what I can pull for custodes. I was earlier today looking at the rogue trade entourage and trying to get infiltrate into my list because I would love to have infiltrate, but the problem is I have to have them lead voidsmen or breachers, and it brings it up to like 100+ points. So even if the redeploy infiltrator like ability is like I'm still gonna try it, but I don't know if you'll see it. I don't know if you'll see it.
Yeah, it's a premium. You definitely play a premium, right? If you want
Yeah.
to get indirect or infiltrate. Sorry.
Back when 3-inch deep strike was a big thing, I also considered bringing Navigator just for that 12-inch
Yep.
detail. Just didn't ever do it. So, but now Nick Jags told me to try an immolator. So with the 3 bikes, so I'm gonna try that out. Imperial Knights, their big guys went down. They're still pretty hot up there, are they not? With the immolator combo?
Yeah, they like I think in the past couple of weeks, there's been a couple of Imperial Knight big like super major wins on them, and those
Yeah,
are all the ones that ran like the immolator package with the battle sisters because that actually shores up a lot of weaknesses that they have.
yeah.
But yeah, like I think having the because I think a lot of the knights list they actually do run the both of these variants, so I think that's going to be a welcome change. Like having those 30 point drops here and there, it kind of like skews it so that maybe you can potentially take an additional unit of screening in your Imperial Agents list. So definitely welcome change. It's always cool to see knights on the table just because they're so big, they're menacing, very Warhammer-esque. So yeah, it's good.
Leagues of Votan, no changes, but the detachment, I believe they got a new buff on their detachment or something. Was it different judge tokens now?
Yeah, I think that the change for Votan was that they were able, like something to do with like the judgment tokens. Um, I know that from what I hear, like word on the street is that it's okay. It's not super game changing that the the judgment tokens got changed, but at the end of the day, like Votan is like a very fair army, right? Like if you look at how they play like a very fair game of Warhammer. Like they don't have reactive move, they don't have like 6-inch deep strike. It's just like we're just gonna do what we do well. Like yes, they do have a lot of scout moves to kind of jail you. Um, I don't know. There's like
They
not
play
really.
very honest 40K.
Yeah, exactly.
I like them. I was very close to buying some, but the fact that Sagittars are casino cannons, and if you face Death Guard with -1 hit or anything, you are just praying for fours to do anything.
Praying for sixes for sustained D3 is more like.
Yes,
That too. So I'm hesitant, but we'll see. If they get better,
yeah,
I'll revisit them.
definitely.
Necrons. DDA went up 10 points because
Yeah, I think
wasn't good enough.
at this point for like Necrons, it's kind of like a meme for DDAs to just keep going up, even though Star Shatter's dead. Um, but yeah, but like it's good at least to see that none other things went up. That's like kind of like the silver lining, and we know that Necrons can perform well. Like Ryan on our team, he routinely does very well with Necrons, right? So I'm sure like running any everything here, not having any list change or points changes is a welcome to him, and they're most likely going to come out as winners because of all the other things getting nerfed. So yeah, good to see that they are still going to be a potential force to be reckoned with.
Orcs. Orcs have a new attachment too, and Tank Bus is going up. Is this good? I feel like Tank Bus is going up is good for you. I remember you were saying that they did a lot of work in your league game when you were big.
Yeah, so they went up 15 points. They probably should have gone up a little bit more just because of how efficient they are. Um, yeah, like if you guys aren't like familiar with the tank buster profile, they're like D3 shots per model. There's 6 of them in a squad. D3 shots at 9 to flat 3 damage. And then they have once per game +1 strength +1 AP. So they can potentially go up to strength 10, which is a good break point for a lot of vehicles. And then when they're targeting vehicles, they get +1 to hit and +1 to wound. So they can wound like T10 vehicles on 3s. And then they have potential rerolls with the mechs with the shock attack guns. And on top of that, before they used to have bomb squigs, which is within if you end your normal move within 12 on a 2-up, they do D3 mortal wounds with no line of sight. So they oomph a lot of damage. And you can see right here that both of those got targeted. The tank busters as well as the shock attack gun both went up by 10 and 15 points respectively. That's specifically to target the tactical detachment, which is the Grotmus one. And the Grotmus detachment got hit in the sense that you can't double order your units now. And when you do a regular order to get something, you have to take a battle shock test. If you fail, you take damage and you don't get a buff. So before it was you always got one for free, and then you can take a leadership test to get 2. So I think it's safe to say that the tactical detachment is pretty much like over nerfed, I think at this point. But at the same time, GW gave them a detachment that is arguably better than tactical, which is like very odd. But it's a very strong detachment that we can get into later.
Yeah, orcs be orkin. Orcs be orkin.
Yeah, orcs be orkin, man.
Space Marines in general. So did they change that plus on a wound for the generic Space
Yeah,
Marines?
so the big clarification they did with Space Marines here was that they actually changed the ruling on Oath of Moment. Before, it used to be if you took no units that are named characters, doesn't matter whether you were Blood Angels or Space Wolves, whatever it may be, any of the non compliant Codex detachments, you still got the +1 to wound. Now you have to specifically take Codex Space Marines in order to get +1 to wound. So you can't play Bloodless Angels anymore, which is kind of like the big thing, right? A lot of players used to just play Blood Angels, be able to get access to those 4 or 5 detachments, and still get +1 to wound. So that if you're playing Liberator or Assault, you can like get +2 strength on the charge. So all your chainswords are on strength 6, and then you get +1 to wound. So you're effectively wounding things on like 4s, like almost anything on 4s, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So
nope.
Yeah, but
Nope.
but then now it's like now that doesn't exist anymore. So you have to take Codex Space Marines in order to get the +1 to wound. But my biggest gripe with this is the fact that they did not limit it to not giving it to Ultramarines.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you take Ultramarines characters, you still get access to +1 to wound, which is very strange. So like the G-Man list could still potentially be alive, although he did get nerfed quite heavily, I think by 50 points here.
Is it there at Ultra? Is it very end Ultra?
I think no, it's up. It's on UU. It's like in the Codex Space Marines.
Roberto Gilliman. Where's R? No,
No, it's not. He didn't go up. Oh, well. Okay.
Mm.
I am mistaken then.
So it's still alive, right?
Yeah, so potentially, yeah.
But the ballistics
Calgar
went up. So they took minor nerfs because the ballistics went up 10 and the Vindicator went up 10. Have you faced the Ultramarine list, Nick, before?
No, you guys were running it on your team at BCP or BPO, and I was just like, I'll play anything but that. I don't want to play against
TGX?
that.
Oh yeah,
Or
TGX.
TGX, sorry,
Yeah.
TGX.
Yeah. You were playing with us for BPO.
Yes, that's right.
You brought
Sorry.
the Forge Fiend, the World Eaters last minute.
Maybe it'll get points decreases one day. The CSM one did.
Okay. Space Wolves. I think there's no changes. I think the Thunderwolf Cavalry build's still very strong. I know Dan Bruce ran it and Barry Bash into very good results. I think that just surged on the board with a lot of 4-up invons, heavy high toughness. Some answers, some armies can't answer that, right? Some armies just fold to fast melee, and that is a fast melee list. So
do you know if Dan was playing Stormlance or was he playing an actual Space Wolves detachment?
do you remember, Nick?
Uh, Pretty sure it was Stormlance. Yeah, pretty sure it was Stormlance. Because I remember somebody complaining about it. Yes, I remember Nick J specifically complaining about -1 to hit and -1 to wound stratagems. I'm pretty sure it was
so
Stormlance.
definitely Stormlance, because that's for some reason that stratagem is 1 CP to get both, and it's very, very efficient.
It is Stormlance. I'm looking at sorry, it is Stormlance. Murder Furries.
Yeah.
Tau going up with down. Sorry, the Kroot Lone Spear and Kroot Rampagers. I mean, I guess it helps the Groms detachment.
Well, it
I
helps
think,
the Kroot detachment as well.
yeah,
I
that's
think
not
more
Groms, the Kroot
importantly.
detachment. Yes, that's the one I'm
Yeah.
talking about. I think Adam ran it at TGX on your team, right, Nick?
Yeah. No, he was running the Grotmist detachment, which
Right.
is not very good. But the Kroot detachment's actually good, and I think we've mathed it out like 6 Rampagers with all the buffs. I think they get reroll to hit and wound in the Kroot detachment. Maybe it's the other detachment. Anyway, that unit in the right detachment will kill God. So
Will kill God.
I'm surprised. I mean, the only thing is they don't go through walls and they're kind of slow. But maybe with the WTC changes, map changes, now that there are certain models can go through, or now that every models can go through certain terrain pieces, maybe I think this you'll probably see
Right.
them more.
Some spice. We'll
Yeah.
go through the attachments after. With T-Suns. T-Suns go more
Oh
text
no.
5 points. How you feeling, Nick?
Oh no. Um, I've given up hope on T-Suns, man. I think they're unfixable until they get a codex just completely reworked.
Yeah. Yeah. I dropped them like a sack of crap right after BPO. I forgot everything about them. Well, how do you play them? I don't even know anymore.
I did, and I did play them. So as soon as because they got multiple nerfs, but the last nerf that was the nail in the coffin, like I dropped them, but I picked them back up recently just to see at a RTT, and yeah, let me tell you, those nerfs they hurt, man. You just don't get enough stuff.
Yeah.
And your 20-man cultists and your Terminators going down isn't really going to help you with getting more Cabal on the board, which is really what's important. And the Mutalisk going up is what's actually going to hurt you. So I
Yes.
think this is actually like kind of a nerf for T-Sense,
Yeah. I
which wasn't
remember
deserved.
I remember I was talking to you at BPO, like how to finalize the list pre-nerf, this nerf. And it was such a fine line of like the chaff you had. Like I
Hmm.
remember being like, I can't even afford 5 more points going up.
Hmm.
Because the cultists and the Zangors being where they were, and I ran two MVBs, so now it's 10 points more. It's not. I don't think it's cutting it. And you can't even trade, right? You bring out the Inferno Master Squad, yeah, I'll pick something up, Doombolt or whatever, but then you just lose that whole unit now.
Yeah, I think you're just gonna have to wait for the codex to come out because it's just very hard to points this army properly because what they
Mhm.
can do is so powerful. Um, if there was a secret wish list, I hope that they make the double move like only flat 6 inches or
Oh,
I think that would really help in being able, and then you could get more stuff. They could bring the points down. If like Magnus is going 32 inches in your face. If you're not sending a solo disc Sork 30 inches and then, indirecting someone. I think that would help a lot.
those are the good old days. I jumped that bandwagon so hard. I was like,
It
"Hi,
was
Nick."
it was fun. It was fun while it
It
lasted.
was fun while it lasted. Tyranids. So Tyranids saw some minor increases and decreases. Um,
Yeah, I think like I can take the reign here. Like
yeah.
Exocrines going up probably deserved. They're like a really strong profile. They give the army reroll hits of 1 in the shooting phase afterwards. So but like if you look at the nerfs, it's like +10 -10. If you're taking a Tyrannofex, you're probably taking a Hive Tyrant. Oh, but it's not the Hive Tyrant with wings. So maybe the walking one is pretty good
The,
too
the
because you get
walking one's
+1
the one,
toughness.
yeah, you usually see, I believe.
Yeah, so like that one going down is probably pretty good, and then having the T-Fex go up, it's like net zero. You play Neurolictors if you were playing the Nexus something. I forgot what the
Synaptic Nexus.
yeah, Synaptic Nexus. Yeah, so maybe that's good, but Lictors are probably just better. Like Lictors are pretty good, having to fight first and all that stuff. So I don't know. I personally think that Tyranids is like a very strong army, and I just don't have the financial resources to commit into Tyranids. Otherwise, I would probably play them because like they do a lot of like saucy things with
I
like battle
sold my
shocking and
Tyranids.
moving. Yeah.
I sold them, most of them, and they're calling me back. The Norn Emissary model looks so nice, and I'm like, oh. And the
Yeah.
Electric Blown Up Infiltrate. Like, I want Infiltrate with Custodes. This is the army of Infiltrate.
Their battle line's so good. Like just the gargoyles move blocking and even
Yes.
Hormagon. So I actually played one game with Nids recently. Actually no, I proxied my Chaos Army to help my buddy test against Nids. I proxied my whole Chaos Army as a whole Nids army. And my Hormagons, which I think were bloodletters, um resurrected a model for 1 CP or 5 models or whatever, and then rolled a 6 on their advance. So they went like effectively like 19 inches and then charged with OC2. I think,
And
and then
don't
you
they
can
have
overrun as well. You can
yeah,
move after you fight. It's very, very powerful. Uh, I think it's slept on the Nids. I
I
think
think
they're
so
quite
too.
good.
It's just waiting for like a very good pilot to take it to the next level.
All right,
World
last but
Eaters,
not least, World Eaters. Gentlemen, this is your forte. I just know screen and roll fours.
it's Nick's forte, man. Took it to
Uh,
BPO.
Yeah, you
Went
man switched last minute. You know what,
I
literally
Nick?
just in the
I
minute.
actually had your CSM list copy and pasted in case you threw some shady stuff.
Yeah. See, that was the first time playing with me, and if you had before, you would know that that's kind of my shtick. I re-uploaded my berry list at 11:59 the night of the deadline to change. I added Cypher in and a unit of cultists, and it was a good change. But I didn't make that change till 11:58, giving me 1 minute to submit my list. I think the World Eater changes. So we got both Demon Princes going down by 15. The one on foot was nerfed, I think, the last data slate to only
Yeah.
give a 5-up invul instead of a 4-up invul. So he kind of lost his niche role. I think The one with wings at 155. So World Eaters list right now are kind of in an interesting spot because it's kind of been figured out, leaving like a lot of the lists at like 1970 because you don't have a lot of options to swap out units. So maybe this 15 points will be a break point where now you only have to cut like one unit of 8 bound to bring them in instead of like just not being able to make that swap. Because his rule's decent. Like reroll all hits and wounds against one target. He's a cool rapid ingress threat. I could see him maybe swapping out for a unit of 8 bound, maybe.
I also think it's very, very saucy that the Juggerlord went down 20. 20 is a
Hmm.
pretty, that's a 20%
20 is
drop, man,
steep. 20 is a
from
steep drop.
before. That
And
basically gives you the Berserker Glaive, right? Or close to.
uh yeah, how much is yeah,
I think the
25
glaive is
points.
25 points, guys.
25. Yeah.
25
25
points.
points.
Yeah, 25.
Maybe you'll see more or less run the him with the favored for the once per game rerolls to get your
Yep.
advance in charge. And he has a pretty like you bring one or two of them in the vessels detachment. So I think they have some pretty juicy enhancements for him. Like
Hmm.
one that lets him go through walls, stuff like that. So I think that's pretty good for them.
Yeah. The biggest problem with him is always that everything's just AP1, right? So
Hmm.
anything AOC related, it makes him hit like a wet noodle.
Hmm.
So that is the main downside of him. But like I see him as 80 points. I see him as like a pretty decent action monkey that's durable. Like being having a 2 up, 4 up, moves 12. At the end of the day is pretty good. Like probably spawn might just be better because they're cheaper, but but
And go through
sometimes you want to
walls.
get this guy. So, yeah, and they go through walls. That's like actually super huge. Huge. All right.
I need that Forge Fiend that you brought. That's all I see. That single, you're an advocator of that.
I still think it's so good, bro. 3 battle shock tests. It's the only unit in the game that forces 3 battle shock tests. It's crazy.
I mean, you've got the stats to back it, so I'm not gonna
Yeah.
say anything. But I'm just looking at this like, what the hell is a Forge Fiend doing, World Eaters?
It's because it looks cool. That's why.
Yes.
Dude, the worst part is that the Forge Fiend is in World Leaders, but not in EC.
That
It's
is a
not.
shame.
It's
It's
not.
literally it's not, and it's the same box. You
Wait,
buy
Yep,
the box with
stop.
the option to build both, but in
yep.
EC you can only
But
run one of them.
you
So,
cannot build it.
and boy, is Emperor's Children just hurting for some long range
They
shooting in the
need
form of a
long
Forge
distance
Fiend.
shooting. They have
Bro,
like,
a Predator or a Forge Fiend would go crazy in that army, but they don't have
Yeah,
it.
wow,
being
you
able
don't
to
have it.
advance and shoot. Yeah,
Hey,
Yeah,
it's
just play a
very
Land
hard.
Raider.
no, no. And mostly because I don't know one, but it's also bad. So
Fair enough. On to the new detachments that were released in hand today. We'll go start with Custodes. So I actually took a really long look at this one. I think that there's a lot of spice in this. I think that there's play. However, I think there are several breakpoints that are lacking in this list that might make me hesitate on bringing this one, but we'll kind of go over in detail. So the detachment rule essentially is if your custodes units are alone, and by alone I mean outside of 6 inches from other friendly units, you get +1 to hit and +1 to wound. This is really good. I know that Shield Host has crits on 5s and 6s. Um, at +1 to wound, I don't know the math on that, but +1 to wound of crit sixes is also just as really well. And +1 to hit roll. I know most people are like, well, custodes hit on 2s. Like, why do I need this? But then you look at how many units in the game have stealth or -1 to hit in melee, and you can kind of see that +1 to hit rolls is essentially a modifier ignore mods almost. That's how I see it. It's like another assurance for you to keep your
Mhm.
consistency. Um, but yeah, enhancements are pretty good. Being able to bring back a unit on a 2 up, a custodian infantry model, is pretty bonkers. I remember when Superior Creation was Fire Female Pain in 8th edition. I missed that. This one's really good. Making a Custodes model lone op stealth. There is so much you could do with this. I remember I saw this at like 6 a.m. when it came out, and I had to triple read this to be like, did they just give me lone op on a model? Now it's only for the model, so you can't attach it to a unit and become Golden Draxus. It's only for the model only. So if you attach it to a unit, it can't get it. But there is some spice to it. And then the shield captains, it's pretty good. Plus for the other ones, what's plus 2 attacks for every 5 models. It's cute. The other one, +1 damage, +3 strength is also nice. It gives like a Walmart Trajan kind of look. So again, it compounds the damage, right? And the survivability of your units. Now, the strats they have, these are all really good. There's not a single one's bad. So they basically have one where if you use a once for battle ability from your character for 1 CP when you trigger it, you can use it again. So you can have your bike captain move again after combat twice. You can have Trajan go Super Saiyan twice, right? Like there's a lot of things you can do with this. Another one is you can also, I believe, fight on death on a 4-up, but if you have a character attached to it, or sorry, a character keyword, it fights back on a 2-up. That one's not bad. It's very situational. The other
I
one,
mean, like fighting for 1 CP on a 2-up is pretty reliable.
Yeah, no other army has that. That
I
is
don't like it.
very
This is
strong.
like
Fine,
That's
fine,
very strong, sir.
okay,
With +1 to wound if you're by yourself.
okay. I guess with Trajan Super. Okay, I'm serious. There's no way you can avoid, or there is if you're 01, I guess. But like basically, there's no way, almost no way for you to avoid Trajan going Super Saiyan and smacking you, essentially.
yeah.
Right. Okay. I will concede that point. I will concede that point. The other strats, giving the whole unit precision, I think that's really good. I think that there are so many times I remember back in like way back in the meta when there was like rates with a Chronomancer, and I had to rely on a single blade champ to get through a Chronomancer, and it sounds like really easy until you see the dice and the saves and the Phenol Pain. And this just says nah. Just says you're taking 25, 30 hits to the face. You roll it, but I don't think it's gonna matter for it, right? Really spicy here. They brought back an 8th edition strat here, Unleash the Lions. You're able to split a unit that of Alaris or Aquilion. I can't even pronounce that because I haven't used it ever in any game. They can split into each individual one unit. Now I've gotten like 3 DMs from people being like, "What do you think about 6-man Alaris?" and 1 CP, splitting that one squad into 6 different activations. And they can all teleport off the board and come back down again.
Wait, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was thinking about it. I'm like, huh. Let me think about that. And I don't know that chaos model character. Yes, we're talking about that is like the tough one at Lone Op one, Lord something.
Yeah, the Lord Cacophonous.
Yeah, that one. So that's basically an equivalent stat line as an Alaris. So imagine 6 of him running around the battlefield, right? Like,
And I think they hit
These
I
guys
think
hit a
they
lot
hit a
harder.
lot harder than a Cacophonous.
Yeah.
I think yes, 5 attacks, 7/2/2, sustained or lethal.
Yeah.
Plus
Yeah,
1 to
that's
wound,
pretty good.
+1 to hit.
How did these guys go back up in the sky? Do they go up in the
There's an
sky?
ability for an Alaris. They can come up, pick him up, and put him back down.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's a pretty good wombo.
So you
Yeah.
start them on the board of 6, you run them up, and you split into 6 different units and go have fun,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
I mean, pretty good.
That's
It's pretty good.
there's some sauce here. The other one is, of course, the typical fallback shoot charge. I think this is a very simple but necessary one. Otherwise, you get tagged.
Very, very solid stratagem
Yeah.
there. This one. Yeah.
Can't go wrong. And finally, it's a reactive move when you get shot. And that one's just nice. It is D6. Now, these are all really good strats. I think there's a lot of play of this, especially in teams. I say teams because, namely, I'm worried about mortal wounds. Now, everyone in the Wargame Warriors group chat has heard me complain about this, and Nick, you're gonna hear me complain about it a lot more. Okay, why is it that guardsmen in the billions, useless cannon fodder, have grenades? Okay, and the custodians of 10,000, the Emperor, their armor is the cost of worlds, and they're like, I forgot my handheld explosive at home.
They're just beyond that.
Okay, well, clearly a grenade kills like 4 of them or something. I don't know. 4 mortal dies. I don't know what to tell you. But, that aside, that's the problem I'm seeing is that if you go into a matchup like T-Suns or grenade strats or just anything that has a lot of mortal wound output, you're kind of just shaking a little bit here because you don't have any protection against mortal wounds. Shield Host has a reactionary, like when you allocate targets for a
Yeah.
pain, great. Even then, it's not the greatest. I find that a lot of experienced players can always divert mortal wounds into multiple targets if they can work around that. That's why I think this is really good for teams if you can be babied away from mortal wound spam or even some mortal wounds. But Talons, I think, is still the best because of the phenol pain. It doesn't matter if it doesn't come up, but if it comes up, it's game changing. And the reactive move flat six changes games.
Yeah.
It just changes like everything. I remember I was talking to you, Nick, about it, like some CSM. You're like, I
That's so
don't.
good.
You, like you don't want it. You don't
No,
want
I don't.
it.
Especially as like Renegade Raiders, when all my buffs like work when you're standing on an objective, you're just like, well, what if I wasn't on that objective?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not. It's and yours is a double reactive move too,
If
because the
you're within 9 inches
sisters,
of a
It's up
sister's
to
unit
two.
from six, I can
yeah,
move
which
two,
is
so I
so
can
strong.
switch screens. Like I play it correctly, you can position screens and pivot or fall back for an ingress heroic. Like there's so
Hmm.
much jank, and I can't. And like there's a heroic here, there's a reactive here, but it's D6, so it's
Yeah.
cute. You
The
roll a one,
D6, you're not going anywhere. Even with the a two, you're not getting to the
no,
other side of the wall with them. Well, what are you
you
on?
are.
40
It's
mils?
1.5. The base is
Yeah,
1.5.
yeah, okay.
So you
Okay,
will if you're
so
touching the wall.
yeah, I mean it is a good stratagem.
It's good,
Um,
but it's not flat six.
but it's not Talon's
It
good.
ain't
Mhm.
Talons. It ain't
Um,
flat six.
but the
It's
plus one to
also not
wound.
Star Shatter because Star Shatter lets you move vehicles, so you can't just poke your little Caladius Grav tank out a little and then
Yeah.
reactive back in afterwards. You know.
Yeah, because that would be game changing. I was when I first read that, I was like distracted, and I went, "Hold up!" When I saw plus one hit, plus one wound, I'm like, "Is this tanks? If it's tanks, I don't give a shit about mortal wounds. I'm taking three tanks, and I'm gonna wound on twos twin linked. I don't care."
Yeah, I think maybe the problem with this detachment is the units that it's trying to buff
Yeah,
with the guard and not the wardens, which the wardens have really been the best unit that, custodians have had access to in a while or
yeah,
for the last while. And like with the reactive move, you don't have to spend your 4-up Feel No Pain in a turn where you
Yeah.
otherwise would. Versus here, it's like, okay, you spend your 4-up Feel No Pain because you don't know what you're gonna get on your D6 move when they shoot you. And then you get a 6, oh good, you're safe, but like you used up your 4-up Feel No Pain.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of buffing guard, especially with the fight on death on a 2+,
Oof.
because they still get the rerolls on objectives, right? If they're controlling it.
Yes, yes.
With OC3 per model, right? So with guard, like that's I could see in teams when they don't have a lot of guns, like that fight on death strat is like so
Yeah.
good.
You can really bully the melee matchup here with that.
Because
So
fight
yeah,
on death is better than fight first, arguably, right? Because you can pile in to get
uh
first.
no, fight first is better,
Okay.
but but 1 CP anything fight first would be that would be way too strong. Even still,
Index
fight on death is very good.
Index 2
Yeah.
CP. Bring it back. Index 2 CP. All right,
All right.
next one. Shadow Legion, the big one. The saucy
Oh,
one.
we're not saving the best for
Fine, we'll
last.
save it for last. We'll save it for last. Fine, we'll save it for
Yes,
last.
let's just breeze through the other two real quick.
Yeah, we can breeze through this one. Yeah.
All right, so for Tau, I dabbled into Tau a little bit, so I can kind of speak on this. I'm very happy I didn't bring Tau for LVO. I'll tell you right now. But anyways, they add 6 inches to the range of ranged weapons equipped by Tau. It's pretty good, right? So your Meltas, your fusion blasters, they get increased range from 12 to 18. A lot of your 30-inch range becomes 36, etc., etc. Their enhancements are pretty nice. You can get plus one strength for your AFPs or the fragmentation projectors and damage and AP. Is that I believe that's the indirect one,
That's
right?
the indirect gun. Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, so damage
Which is
two.
that is a great enhancement, like
Yeah,
+1 AP, +1 damage.
yeah, because that's
Oh,
basically ignore cover, right? Plus one AP is basically ignore cover for indirect. So there's
Yeah,
your
but then it's D6 shots. So
just roll
oh, it's just
better,
D6
bro.
shots.
yeah,
It's
I'm pretty sure
blast though.
it's blast. Yeah, D6 blast.
Just roll better. Time to
Just
roll better,
just
man.
roll
Just roll
good.
better. Just roll better. One Tau Flamer increases strength by 2, the AP by 1, and damage by 1. So a lot of damage focus, which is really nice. One plasma rifle. I'm seeing a trend here of how each equipment they get +1 strength, +1 damage,
Yeah,
+1 AP, or +2 strength, right? So I think the best one here, arguably, is the Fusion Blaster.
for sure. The fusion blades. Yeah.
I think if you look at the +6 inch range, so now you have 18-inch range meltas, so that means your melta range is now 9, and then you're doing +1 AP, it's AP 5, so good luck with any state, no invons, and then you have a strength 12 melta, and melta doesn't matter on top of it.
Yeah, Melta 4 is pretty wild
Yeah,
on this one.
so that's pretty gnarly. The one thing I will say though for these enhancements is it's only select one.
Yeah,
And this is D6 or last in case you have 2 shots minimum. The flamer is cute,
D6
right?
as well, right?
Six
So
well. Plasma's I think 1 shot. So
pretty sure plasmas are. I
Uh,
think you can rapid fire them.
no, plasma is one shot. I'm
it's one
looking at it
shot, I'm
right
pretty
now.
sure. Yeah, Crisis
Yeah.
said like 3 spots,
Oh,
it's 3 shots. So it's one die, roll
Like
three,
your one die becomes like really good, and your other
roll
ones are
three
not
if
as
it's
good.
spotted. If you're facing Death Guard, roll 4 or 5 and hope it works.
yeah. These
Right? And then
enhancements
Fusion
better be
Blaster.
very cheap.
Same problem, right? So if it goes off, it's great. Doesn't go off, it's like feels bad. Um, the strats are pretty nice. There's like a regain D3 +1 lost wounds, helps your sustain. For 1 CP, you get Warden's ability. For your Tau battle suit, which again helps durability, so it helps it stay on the board, which
Yeah,
is
the
nice.
-1 to wound is very nice. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because a lot of suits are tire toughness, so a laser cannon shot won't just blow right through it. Boot on fours helps it. Um, This one's kind of nice. If you have to, each time you roll one or more dice to determine number of attacks made with weapon, you can reroll the result. So it's like another command reroll.
yeah. It makes all that. It makes your enhancements also more reliable too, right? With
Yeah.
the flamers and the airbursts. So
Now my only problem is that I'm spending a 1 command point for this
yeah.
for a D6 again. It's like
Hmm.
I might as well go to Vegas and just try slots, right? This one here is pretty decent. So you can select one of the following to apply, improve the strength by 1, improve the strength and armor of ranged weapons by 1, but you have hazardous. So that's pretty good. So it stacks up, right? The next one here is you get sustained or lethals. Or you can still select instead sustained ones and lethal hits, but get hazardous as well. So again, gives you more reward for
That's pretty
rewards.
good.
That
Letting
one's
you
good.
get access to both keywords
Yeah.
and granted you hazard, but then I think suits don't actually die from one hazard, right? Because they're either 4 wounds or 5 wounds,
Yeah.
depending on how many shield drums you take.
Yeah.
So that's actually pretty strong in terms of
This
like
is a good
giving
one.
them the extra punch to be able
This is a
to
good one.
get the targets that they need to kill. Yeah,
Yeah. And NeuroWeb System Jammer is pretty good. It's Lone Up 18.
nice.
So I know Lone Up 12 is better, but 18 playing of Draxus, I know that there's a lot of play around with that. There's a lot of play
Yeah,
around
it
with that.
makes the one like the Sun Forges and uh, the Fire Knife ones really good at skirmishing. That you can actually like expose them on a flank, pick up whatever they need to, which they probably will, and then afterwards you can still protect them with Lone Up.
Yeah.
So and then that can again they normally are paired with Cold Stars, so they will move quite fast to be able to re-engage with the enemy again afterwards. So
Yeah.
this
I
is
like them.
this is kind of like the Battlesuit Attachment 2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. I love Battle Suits. I love Crisis Suits. They're my favorite models.
Yeah.
I can't get over monophase armies. I can't do it. I can't.
So
That's just
That's
me.
why I take the Forge Fiend.
Just the force world leaders. I
That's
have
why.
shooting. Aren't bolt pistols or a plasma pistol? Yes.
Facts.
All right. DACA. Orcs.
more DACA. Okay, so we were talking about how Tactical Brigade got nerfed, and GW says, no fear. Here's a detachment that is basically better than Tactical, essentially. So what they do here is they give you sustained hits 2 on Orcs infantry and Orcs walker. Interestingly enough, the Stompa is a walker, so all of its guns are sustained
Oh
2.
no. Oh
So
no.
it's pretty interesting there. And while you're in the WA, those same models also have the assault ability. So now, if you're taking Ludas, if you're taking Flash Gits, tank busters, they're going to be able to shoot you first before they charge into you, which is really, really good for orcs. On your go turn, being able to get access to shooting like a back or a screen, or being able to shoot something in the back and then charging something in the front, it's a very, very welcome change. So going into the enhancements here, the first one basically gives that particular model, most likely shock attack gun mech, gives you devastating wounds and hazardous. It's nice. At first, when I read it, I thought it was the whole unit, and then I thought that like Ludas were just gonna annihilate everything off the face of the planet. And then I got rained back to Earth when I realized that it was just the model. However, the second enhancement does give everyone rapid fire, so that is pretty good. Being able to have an extra shot with Ludas, because Ludas I think are like 60 inches in range, so they're basically like almost always getting rapid fire. It's like very, very powerful. Targeting squigs allows you to make adding 1 to your hit roll, which is nice. It's like basically getting an order, making sure you're hitting on 4s instead of 5s. And then the last one, it gives you being able to shoot when you fall back, which is nice. It all depends on really the points, how they plan to balance these. But I think for sure the rapid fire one is something that will probably be taken, and then the 2 bottom ones are going to be like nice to haves if you have the extra points, and then lastly the dev wins one, you probably aren't taking that unless like you really want that one guy to like pop off, that one character. So okay, going on to the strats here. The first strat is the one that lets you in the fight phase you get to reroll hit rolls of 1, I believe, and then if they're on an objective marker, you reroll all wounds. So you turn into custodian guards, which is pretty good because you can still then like, the good thing about this attachment is that like even though it's like focused on shooting, it still gives you buffs in the fight phase. So like your breaker boys or your knobs or like your war bosses, like these guys are still going to be able to like be a solid threat in the fight phase. So it's not really just going to be a mono phase army. It really opens up like shooting for the orcs. For the second rule or second enhancement, it lets you basically turn one of your units to have the wall active, even though you've already called a wall. So that's really good too. That basically gives one of your units advance and shoot, advance and charge, which is, as you guys know, like movement wins games, right? So like being able to do that 5 turns in a row or 4 turns in a row, not in the wall turn, is something that's going to be super, super powerful.
Now you can't do it while you're in a transport, is that correct?
Yeah, because it says it's in your command phase and it has to be something in an orc unit in your army, and you can't target orcs when they're in a transport.
Got it.
Yeah. Next one is going to be you can target a walker. So in the next command phase, you can improve your unit's move, leadership, and objective control by 1. And each time they make an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. Pretty good if you're memeing with the Stompa. Being able to give it the extra, I guess, 1 on all that stuff is pretty good. But I guess you most likely want to use this for the +1 to hit. Again, I don't think you will be seeing this being used a lot unless you are playing like orc heavy, walker heavy list. But yeah, it's nice to have. And then this one's pretty good because with this one, the next one here is it lets you have ignores cover basically. Yeah, and it's like the wording on it is a little bit weird. It's like you have to target one of your orc characters, but then you look at something within 18, and then afterwards they get ignore cover. The important thing is you can target a character, but that character doesn't need line of sight on the enemy unit. So you can just give effectively something ignores cover, which is nice. Essentially +1 AP, right? The special shells is also something that's really good, in my opinion, because it increases the armor penetration. So that you can kind of combo it with the one on top. You become ignores cover, you become AP1, and that really helps Ludas again, because Ludas, their main downside was that their guns are just AP1, so being able to go to AP2 is pretty good. And then lastly, this one, it basically lets you do reactive shoot if something dies, which is like for 1 CP, no modifiers to your hit. Obviously, you're hitting on 5s or 6s, But that's just the
with
orc way,
with
right?
sustain 2, sometimes
But
re-rolling all hits, sir.
yeah, like, like it's pretty like for one CP, this is like probably like one of the like the best like stratagems that they can get. Now it becomes like whatever you're shooting at, like you run the risk of them picking up that unit in retaliation, essentially, if you don't kill enough. So that's I think orcs moving forward is going to be quite strong with this detachment. You basically still take like a bunch of uh, mixture of like melee and shooting units, but then now your shooting is actually a threat instead of it being just like I'm going to shoot 20 shooters at you and maybe pick up like 5 cultists. So yeah, we'll have to see how this goes, but definitely orcs is going to be something to watch out for in the
Yeah,
near
I've
future.
I've seen from the competitive heads that this detachment is gonna be like Slaanesh demons level of broken.
Oh,
Yeah,
Which I get it. I don't know, like Ludas were already good when they got like sustained hits in the mech detachment, right? They're
yeah.
they're
This is
good.
basically better dread mob.
And
Like,
it's just better Dread Mob. And Dread Mob was already like pretty good. And it's better tactical. Like because
mhm.
tactical you ordered to get +1 to hit versus now
Yeah,
you're essentially getting +2 to hit with sustain
plus
2.
two to hit with
And
the
you're
sustained
yeah.
sickness. Yeah,
And your Overwatch, like you're getting sustain 2 with lethal with your flash gets and stuff like that. Because they
yep.
get lethal hits, is that right?
Rerolling. Mhm.
ooh.
Yeah, you can once
Um
per. They always have sustained, and then you can once per game lethals.
And then the reroll wound strat in melee, I think like covers what was gonna be this detachment's like only weakness.
Weakness. Yeah, exactly.
Especially with because you have those war bosses that have anti-vehicle anti-monster vehicle 4 plus.
Hmm.
And is it dev wounds as well?
I think only one hammer has it, but the rest of them is just anti-vehicle 4 plus.
But the character like the
Oh,
I think the war
the Snaga
boss
boss. Yeah,
isn't he?
yeah.
I think he's dev wounds anti-vehicle monster
Yes,
4 plus. And now
yes.
you're rerolling all wounds with that.
Oh, true. Yeah. So even like the
That's
Squigosaurs and stuff, yeah, could be really strong.
um yeah, I think I don't know. What do you think what do you think, Mr. Custodes over there? Are you
I
scared of
just
playing against this?
I hate orcs. I hate them. I just don't. My fiance actually started Warhammer. She's like, "What army do you hate?" Orcs. She bought like 1,500 points of orcs that are sitting in the darkest room in my corner. I think the gosh, it's awesome. I think it's very competitive, has viability. I just don't respect the model, unfortunately. I just don't.
Damn.
He doesn't
I
respect the model range.
I don't like the model
yeah.
range. I respect that people like it as a very like niche, like they love it. Boy, I love the lore. I love the lore. I just can't touch them. Can't.
I don't
Can't.
respect that opinion.
I don't respect
Although
you, Nick.
I don't like this detachment because of how strong it seems,
Yeah.
but as an orc player, I'm glad that orcs are getting their or as a former orc player, because orcs were originally my first army for
I,
40K.
in all
Um
seriousness, I think you have to respect this a lot. They have a lot of good shooting, which orcs don't usually get. Rerolling wounds is going to be brutal. Remember when GW said less rerolls this edition, but now you once if you get it. I just think that yeah, you have to respect orcs, and I think orcs being such a deep codex and being able to have so many units on the board and flooding the board, that this is definitely going to be up there. I don't know if it's Slash level. I can see it, but I think time will tell. I think
I'm
time will
ready
tell.
for 6 kill a can with rockets to Overwatch 10 possessed dead. I'm
Oh,
just ready
jeez.
for it. It's gonna happen.
I feel there's gonna be a time I'm gonna pop a 4 pain in my movement phase just to just not get overwatched. On it right now.
YGW. Just make it +1 to hit, sustained 1. Just make it a little bit less swingy.
Yeah,
Orc players would appreciate that too.
definitely.
Sustained 2 though. Well,
No,
not a good design.
My fiance's orcs attachment has 1 CP. I move terrain, so you block LOS, and 1 CP. Your custode's going back on the shelf. So
Powerful.
I think that's more
That was
powerful than his.
powerful. Yeah, she's a power gamer for sure.
Yeah,
She takes after the best.
yeah. Oh, ha, ha, ha. All
All
right.
right.
The last
Last.
but not least, Shadow Legion. Nick, take us away from here.
Oh, hey, I gotta scroll. I gotta scroll down. Okay, I found it. Okay. Okay, so Shadow Legion for Chaos Demons. So this is a really cool. I always love these soup armies for Chaos. They have quite a lot of them. And GW is smart because they know that I'm gonna get a new army if it only requires me buying a few units. If I get a whole new suite of rules to go along with it. And that's what this detachment does, is it allows you to bring CSM units up to 1,000 points with your Chaos Demons. So you're basically getting all the infantry non-epic hero units other than like the Master of Executions. Um, we'll go over at the end maybe some of the stronger ones. Notably, no Rhino though, so none of these units are going to be able to be transported in a Rhino. But you do have some sort of movement jank that'll allow you to get these guys where they need to go. So in the second part of this, oh, and also Be'lakor gets dark packs. I don't know which bullet point that is, but he gets the keywords which give him dark packs, which is pretty sick.
And
Um,
he auto passes all
and
the
he
time.
auto passes, so you don't have to worry about getting. He basically
Yep,
just gets his choice of sustained or lethal, which is awesome.
which is awesome. Yeah.
Then we have five rules. So we have one for your CSM, and then one for each of the type different Chaos Gods. So you have army-wide advance, shoot, and charge for Corn, which is super powerful, especially because a lot of the data sheets got buffed their movement. Like all the Bloodthirster or Bloodletter equivalents went to movement 8. So before you were going 6, now you're going 8 and advancing and charging, which is
Ooh,
effectively doubled the speed,
that's
which is
spicy.
Yeah.
kind of
That's
bonkers.
spicy.
Um, if the Slanesh nerfs weren't enough, don't worry. They continue here. Your Slanesh units can't get overwatched. So if you wanted to advance and charge with Slanesh, sorry, that's corn. But you won't get overwatched by those sustained 2 Ludas if you're playing Slanesh. Yippee. Um, for Zinch, we got -1 to hit, both shooting and melee, which is super powerful. Nurgle, we got a -1 to wound if the strength is greater than the toughness, which is super good. Probably won't matter too much on like the unclean one, who's toughness 13. He got buffed as well.
Yeah.
But on some of the like things like Nurglings, which are like super spammable now, with their
Yes.
points decreases,
Wounding
-1 to
Nurglings on
wound
threes is
is
like,
very
woo.
strong.
Yeah, very good.
And then effectively the last one is just CSM units get dark packs, and so does Be'lakor, and they also all get deep strike, which is huge for units like Accursed Cultists, these slower combat units. Because before, if you wanted to hit what you wanted, you know, you kind of had to go in strategic, and then they're screenable. But now they get deep strike, which is super huge. So for stratagems, what the first one we got is if you die, let's see, before blowing up, you do a couple mortals, adding 2 to Slanesh, but you're not going to run Slanesh. That's like, it's kind of a whatever stratagem.
Yeah.
I'm not super hyped about this. The next one, though, oh boy. In the fight phase, 1 CP for Lance. So that'll
Oh,
apply to your Possess, your Cursed Cultists on not their go turn. Your Legionaries rerolling all wounds. And then if they're Corn, so Bloodletters, and, all the other Corn stuff.
And Hounds and
Pl
Rentmasters, yeah.
and Flash Hounds who got buffed, +1 AP, which is so huge.
Yeah.
Now you don't need a Renmaster to like get that extra strength and AP. And if they're behind a wall, you can get that Renmaster to see. So like this is the best stratagem in the detachment.
Yeah.
Maybe the only good one. I think there's one other good one, but
I think the up down one is pretty good
yes.
too.
So that's the second one that I think.
Yeah.
Then we have 1 CP, heal 3 wounds, decent strat. I use it in CSM, and then you bring back a Zinch model. I guess you could use that to bring back a Flamer. Jason, do you have any like other sort of,
No,
I guess a
like
pink
it's
horror
really just
on an
flamers. If you want to bring
objective?
back a screamer, maybe. Like, but that's yeah,
Eh,
nothing too
not
saucy about it.
not too saucy. Then we have 1 CP. Basically you pick a CSM unit and a demon unit that arrived from deep strikes, and they both get ignore cover. It is up to, so you could just pick one. There's not a ton of units that I think want this. Um, Maybe a Soul Grinder. Havocs are really the only shooting unit that you're gonna get, and you're probably gonna be running last cannons, which is It's okay with ignore cover. How do you feel about this one, Jason?
I think this one opens up potentially running autocannons on
Hmm.
Havocs. AP1 ignore cover allows you to potentially tell the Terminators that if you roll like a 1 or 2, you die.
Hmm.
Not bad. But yeah, besides that, like ignore covers unfortunately is not going to be as strong in this book, just
Hmm.
because of the fact that like you said, the only shooting unit is really just Havocs,
Hmm.
and Havocs at their current price point is kind of like ish.
We'll we'll get
Yeah.
back to that though, because I actually quite like Havocs in this detachment. Um,
Yes, in this attachment, yes.
in this detachment. 2 CP, we got -2 to charge, so reactive. This is 1 CP in the Fellhammer for CSM, so I don't really know why it's 2 CP here. It's good at 1 CP, it's awful at 2 CP.
Yeah.
So maybe late game if you really need them to fail that charge, you'll use it, but I don't see you
Doesn't
really
Tau
using
have
that
that
at
too?
all.
Like photon grenades for 1 CPs, -2 to charge.
And
No.
and and you have to take a battle shock as well. Yeah.
So it's 1 CP to
So it's
use.
it's the same thing, but not Nurgle. It's locked and
Battle
1
Shock
CP.
has checked. So you
Yeah.
can't even roll it.
Yeah.
Tau just also have it for free on their Pathfinders. One of their
That's
drone,
also true.
the Guardian drone is always
Yeah.
-2 to charge.
Hashtag bring back Tanglefoot.
No.
But no,
No.
thank you.
D6 subtract to charge. No
It's
thanks.
D6. Just to
No.
roll six.
No. And the last one, which I think is the second one that you're probably going to be spamming, is the 1
Yes.
CP uppy downy, 1 CSM unit, 1 demon unit. I think this is where Havocs are really going to have play because unless I'm mistaken, so Bellacor's data sheet got updated to all his auras affect the CSM units in this attachment. So
Oh.
all the auras give your CSM lone op 18. They give the units reroll once a hit. Maybe
Yeah.
fact check. This is true, right, Jason? I'm not making this up.
I'm pretty sure you're right because I
Okay.
watched the gameplay and like Nick Nadavati's Havocs for
Yeah.
rerolling ones all over the board. So
So I think 1 or 2 units of Havocs, at least one to always be like, hey, my Havocs can show up anywhere and be lone ops, so you won't be able to respond to them. Like that's
yes,
just
Oh,
a
that's
huge game
dangerous.
changer.
That's
like
dangerous.
you're always sending 4 las cannon shots with dark packs
With
on them,
dark
right? So
packs,
potentially sustained,
hmm
and like you got the one
potential
check,
ignore
but
cover.
potentially run cover, right? So it's like it's always an anti-tank threat that you will always get angles on, and if you're more than 18, it's uninteractable.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We'll
That's tough.
do enhancements. Um, we have 1 CP. This is, or sorry, not 1 CP. We have 1 Shadow Legion. So Shadow Legion is CSM or demons. Scout 9. I really like this one.
Yep.
Because I always wanted to try Deceptors in CSM with their infiltrating cultists, but the rest of the rules were kind of meh. So in this one, you can take Dark Commune, which are damned, so you get all damned units access to this in this attachment. Take the Dark Commune with this enhancement, add them to 20 cultists, and literally sticky every single objective turn 1. Just deploy on the line.
That's pretty funny.
And then if you go first, you could just send those 25 dudes with a 5-up invul into your opponent's deployment and just be like, you're a move block. All the objectives are sticky. Good luck. It's
Yeah.
really strong.
Hope you
And then
fly.
oh, you go second. And because you deployed on the line, you can't scout back to safely very easily. I'd be ashamed if those cultists were lone ops, so you actually don't lose that asset.
Oh,
True.
It's actually very, very, very strong. So I think
Yeah.
that's going to be the go-to. You could add it to a Cursed Cultist, though, Possessed with a Master Possession. There's a lot of options. The second one's going to be -1 OC and engagement range for Shadow Legion. This one I haven't thought of a ton of uses for. What about you, Jason?
This just reminds me of like the Vanguard from AdMech, right? Being able to bring that thing to -1. So it effectively does that, right? Like again, if you do that against a relatively durable squad of units, let's say like possessed, because they have a really big base and it's like
Hmm.
the entire unit. It's not just the character
Hmm.
model. Being able to hit someone with -1 OC allows you it allows for a lot of stuff and because particularly with OC manipulation, you can actually bring stuff down to 0.
Hmm.
So it allows it like so if you're starting at 0, you can't do actions, but if you're engaged range, you can do it in
Mm.
but potentially, but like unless you're like playing against like in stalwarts, I think stalwarts lets you do actions in engagement range.
Hmm.
But yeah, being able to manipulate OC is definitely something very interesting, and especially if you can put it into a unit that's more durable that doesn't immediately die.
Yeah. I think the first one's an auto include, and this one's just kind of like we'll see points
Yeah.
list dependent,
Mhm.
really. Okay, third one. Third one and a fight phase. It's the Warp Talon rule. So uh if you kill something and you're not in engagement range, you get to go back into deep strike. Super powerful.
Yeah.
Warp Talons have
That's
this
pretty good.
rule. Super good at killing screens. Well, now you can do this on a Bloodthirster who gets to ingress, move 12, and advance and charge. And just infinite Bloodthirster loop for 5 turns, which is much better than Warp Talon. So I think this is very strong.
Yes.
And then the last one is some Mortal Wounds at the end of the fight phase.
Cute.
It's cute. It's whatever. I think this
Yeah.
this attachment's going to be really, really cool. So many options. Just the amount of units that you have access to
Yes.
is there's going to be so many creative lists. So I'm really excited where people are going to go with
Uh-huh.
it.
I'm really
Yeah.
excited to see where the meta shakes up because now that
Mhm.
Bridgehead's gone, Star Tower's gone, now there's
Oh, it'll
new
be orcs. It'll be orcs.
orcs.
Trust me. Oh yeah,
Damn orcs.
orc meta.
No. Orc meta incoming.
It's your worst nightmare.
People have
But
asked me, are you gonna pick up orcs, little sweat? I'm like, no, not in 1,000 years.
I think the rest of the meta's in a very good spot, though. I
I
think
think
they
so.
they did a good thing by not going too crazy with this data slate.
Yeah.
Just kind of leaving the middling armies, I think just alone for now. They just got Grotmist attachments. They have new rules, so you can just leave them alone, I think.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. But Jason, Nick, thanks for having you guys here and taking your nights. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Glad I could
Yeah. Thank
join.
you.
Thank you guys for inviting me. Peace.
Yeah. Take care. Thank you.